at the current address that is in question. He will be a registered voter in Commission District 5 effective the primary election in May. I'll refer back to the BRE to allow the challenger to continue the hearing process today.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. So we just were notified that there is no audio in the feed, on the live feed. So we will need to take a break to make sure that we get this corrected, to make sure that audio is properly restored. Thank you. So we are here today. The department received a candidacy challenge on behalf of Mrs. Sandrika Bradley, dated March 25th, 2022. Mrs. Bradley is a resident of Fulton County, and the challenger is entitled to vote in the May 24th Democratic primary election and has submitted to the department and this board a challenge of the qualifications of Mr. Robert Hallwell Kelly for Commissioner of District 5 in Fulton County. We will now hear our report from Mrs. Shamira Marshall from the department on the qualifying process.
The challenge received in regards to the qualifications of Mr. Robert Kelly the application confirms that he is qualified to run for commissioner in District 5. The address that Mr. Kelly provided on his application for candidacy, he has been registered at that Fulton County address since March of 2016. Due to redistricting effective for the upcoming May election, he will be eligible to run in Commission District 5. I'll refer back to the BRE to allow the hearing process to continue.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. Now, at this time, I'll ask Ms. Erin Glenn to come forward, who is representing the challenger, Ms. Sandrika Bradley. No, it looks like the challenger is not here, but we do have her attorney, her representative.
Well, the reason why, my name is David Betts. I've been an attorney for a long time. And I I'm not familiar with this.
I believe I actually have the floor right now, according to the agenda.
Yeah, so Mr. Betts,
It's my remarks during this.
yeah, Mr. Betts, we've provided a flow of the process, and so I would respectfully ask that you wait until your time. Thank you. And I am very sorry to inform everyone that the audio is down once again. So please bear with us. Miss Glenn, if you could just hold for just a moment until we get the audio back up.
Certainly.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10.
Green, she said, hello, hello. Okay, red, I think it is.
Just want to make sure everyone is aware this issue with the audio feed has to do with the internet with Xfinity. And because of the storm, there is some, the internet is unstable. So, and we hope the AJC will get that right in their report.
And Fox 5.
As many as 800 folks. A unique partnership with the South Fulton Chamber that will consult with small businesses, as many as 300 of them, to really get started back into the economy as it begins to come back and grow. So that's our focus now as we move forward. In addition to that, of course, we have traditional programs like $5.6 million that we're investing in safety net programs with community service providers, a new program for veterans that will
I really don't. By the time might as well just. And my remarks are 3.5 minutes long, so. I'm going to be in a car for the next 45 minutes anyways, so.
Okay, wonderful. We are back on live and in effect. So at this point, Mr. Betts, you questioned whether or not the challenger needs to be here. And so I would like to turn it over to Ms. Ringer to go over the law.
The hearing process is governed by OCGA 2126, and that process does not specify that the actual challenger has to be present at the hearing.
Great, thank you. So we will move forward to hearing from Miss Erin Glenn, who is representing the challenger.
Good morning. Is this microphone on? We have audio. Good morning, Chairperson Woolard, members of the board, and Commissioner Abdul Rahman, who is present in the audience. Thank you all for your service and for your time this morning. I have no doubt that Robert Kelly is a dedicated public servant, an enthusiastic young leader, and a promising potential candidate for office one day. That day, however, is not today, and that office is not the Fulton County Commission. I respect and admire Mr. Kelly for putting his name in the hat to run for office. A name in a hat does not equal a name on a ballot, however. One must prove residency and character. The challenge brought forth today is focused on residency because that is what the documents show. Character, however, must be implied and interpreted from what is not on the page. When Mr. Kelly purchased his home in Fayetteville last year, he applied for a mortgage. When he applied for that mortgage, he had to answer questions on his loan application. The primary question that every lender asks is, what is the purpose of this loan? This loan was underwritten, approved, and recorded as a primary first position residential mortgage. You can see that in paragraph 6 on page 6 of the security deed, and this fact is further substantiated on the 2021 property tax bill issued to Mr. Kelly showing an L1 homestead exemption for primary residency. Now, mortgages, banks, creditors, deeds do not mandate a person live in the same place forever. That would be imprisonment, right? And although I'm sure banks wish debtors' prisons were still alive and well, they are in fact not. Lenders can't require a person be imprisoned, at least since the 1800s. So what happens when a person moves, or when a person leaves a primary residence, or gets a new job, or breaks up with their significant other and leaves the property that was a primary residence? Well, typically, in the case of a first position primary mortgage, you would either sell or refinance. Neither one of those things have happened here. In the instance of a sale, that would immediately allow you to apply for homestead in another county if you purchase that property. But more importantly, in the instance of a refinance, if a property did convert from a primary residence to an investment residence, the lender would require a refinance so that their risk is adequately protected with a different loan product. None of those things happened here. So the Fayette County home is, according to the mortgage, Robert Kelly's primary residence. I asked this board to remove Robert Kelly's name from the Fulton County ballot. And additionally, I have the results of an open records request that was completed, which shows an email from Robert Kelly's Fulton County email address to a Fayette County commissioner. This email is dated August 26th, 2021. So again, I have no doubt that Mr. Kelly is a great person, is a dedicated public servant, and he may in fact vote in Fulton County. That doesn't negate the fact that the Fayette County house is his primary residence according to the mortgage documents, and according to everything that's in the record, the 12-month residency requirement cannot be shown. So with the county attorney's approval, I would submit a copy of this to the candidate and to the board. This was the open records request. And in closing, I greatly appreciate your time. I'd like to reserve any further rebuttal remarks to a written rebuttal and request the board's excusal so that I may attend my next hearing, which is 11 a.m. in Henry County. Does the board have any questions?
Yes, I think we do. I will look to my left, Ms. Crawford.
What is the purpose of,
Can you use the mic?
sorry, what is the purpose of the property in Fayette County? I mean, it's set as his primary residence, correct?
Yes, that is what the security deed states on page
Right.
6. And again, a lender doesn't require you to stay in the same place forever, but you have to follow the rules. And the rules on a primary mortgage state you either reside there for 12 months, I mean, that's the basis on which you got the mortgage, or you sell it or refinance. Neither of those happened.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Wingate, you have questions?
Yeah, thank you. Ms. Flynn, a few things here. Referencing your document submitted as a challenge, I'm a little confused on a couple of things here. First is that on page 2, under facts for disqualification of Robert Kelly, item number 2 under section 1 states that he would move in within 60 days of the closing.
Yes, that's a typical mortgage clause.
And then you continue on in stating in number 3 that he would continue to use 944 Forest Avenue as his primary residence for at least 12 months.
Correct.
Where is the basis of that claim?
If you look on page 6, paragraph 6 of the
I
security
got a
deed.
bunch of pages here.
I can present this to the clerk if,
Page 6 of one of these documents. Where, oh, I don't have tabs, dear. Okay, got it. I'm sorry, where is it, again? Where was
paragraph
that?
6.
I got page 213, is that?
Yes. Well, Ms. Robinson will put it on the screen for us. I think she
Can never read
has,
that far.
well, just for the public.
It's down towards the bottom, the paragraph labeled occupancy.
Okay, what page number is it again?
It is page 6 of the security deed. It's recorded on page 213 of Fulton County Superior Court Book 5214. You might be able to zoom in.
Is that
on
the one,
PDF.
this is the one that also then shows a conveyance address of 455 Forest Avenue?
Yes, sir.
Because I was confused, where does the 455 Forest Avenue address play into this? If you can help me with that, please.
That is on page 3, right, in the transfer rights of the property, 3 pages prior to the one you're looking at right now. It's
And
the
what is exactly the 455 Forest Avenue address?
That is a single-family residence in Fayette County.
Okay, and what does that have to do with this?
That's the property that Mr. Kelly owns and
I thought
purchased.
it was 944 Forest Avenue.
No, the address is 45, it's either 455 or 456. I go by legal descriptions. I'm a real estate nerd, so it's technically land lot 156 of the 5th District, Fayette County, Lot H.
Okay, so in your document, 944 is the same as 455?
That may be a typo.
Well, to,
It's very confusing to
yeah.
me.
I apologize. Yes, this was a very rapid,
So is,
drafting.
are we actually looking at 944 or 455?
It's 455 according to the security deed, and I'd be
According to
happy
this-
to file an amended complaint.
Okay,
however, on your Exhibit D, the property tax that you pulled, it shows 455.
Yes,
yeah, she's saying that
455.
the 944 is a typo.
455 is the Fayette County property with Kelly's name on it. My typo would have been on section 1, which Mr. Wingate noted. Thank you for that oversight. I will amend the complaint and refile that with you this afternoon.
Okay. And there's reference to the mortgage lender
Correct.
having documentation that Mr. Kelly would remain in the residence for a period of at least 12 months, at least as his primary residence, legal primary residence.
Yes.
How do you do that?
How do you do
So,
that?
so the lender then had a condition in closing his loan or granting him a loan that he had to move into the physical property within 60 days of closing.
Yes.
And from that point, whatever that point was, going forward to remain that residency as his, quote, primary, end quote, address for a period of 12 months.
Correct.
Now, do we have, I'm sorry, I don't have time to look through all of this, but
Yeah.
is there documentation to that from the mortgage lender?
Yes.
Okay. Is it in this package?
It is. It's in paragraph 6 of the occupancy clause in the security deed.
Okay, I need to
It's the
find
last
that.
sentence.
Did you find that?
Yes, I have it here. So
Can
it
you tell me which
states,
page?
yeah,
Can you show me?
it is page 6 of 17, page 213.
I got all kind of page numbers down here.
I can read the statute or the
Okay.
clause.
Would you read the statute, please,
Thank you.
Ms. Glenn?
Thank you.
So paragraph 6 of Mr. Kelly's security deed states, borrower shall occupy, establish, and use the property as borrower's principal residence within 60 days of the execution of the security instrument, and shall continue to occupy the property as borrower's principal residence for at least 1 year after the date of occupancy, unless lender otherwise agrees in writing.
See why I'm in,
And
see
we
how
have
I'm in
noth-
trouble here. I don't
there's
have the
nothing
same
from the lender.
documents.
And there's nothing from the lender.
No, that would be a refinance into an investment loan product because the lender's risk is higher on an investment property, so your interest rate is higher.
There is reference here to evidently a recorded homestead exemption. And again, that states 944, not 455.
Yes.
That's on page 2, Ms. Flynn, of your document,
Yes.
your filing. Do you have copy, or do we have copy of this stated file or recorded homestead exemption?
Yes, I believe a certified copy was provided with the paper challenge, but the tax commissioner in Fayette County makes their records available publicly. The 2021 property tax bill is out. That is the bill that Mr. Kelly would have paid at the end of 2021, showing an L1 tax exemption. So at least until January 1st of this year, he was receiving L1 homestead, which would mean that Fayette was a primary residence until at least January 1 of this year.
But do you have that paperwork? Do you have
Yes.
that?
The property
The-
tax bill contains the L1 exemption and his name on it.
But you don't have the homestead exemption form.
It's indicated on the bill. It says L1 exemption.
In the,
Yeah.
so this closing happened closing on this property was closed on February 10th of 2021.
Yes.
Correct me, I don't believe you can then file for homestead in that current year.
You're correct.
You have to wait till the following.
You are correct.
So
You
Why?
you're really supposed to disclaim it if it is not your primary residence so that you don't receive the benefit of it. So even if Mr. Kelly states that it wasn't his primary residence, he received a tax benefit based on a filing that said it was. So in the best case, he would owe a refund to the Fayette County Tax Commissioner. In the worst case, it's a misdemeanor to receive a property tax violation for a property that's not your primary residence.
Yeah, I understand. I guess in terms of your account here, I'm just trying to make sure we all clearly understand the definition of recorded.
Yes.
Because, and again, please correct me, but I don't believe that can happen in that same frame in terms of the recording. There can be notation, of course, but in terms of the actual recording, I don't believe that, is something that would have been done. Thus, I was confused why, it was stated here that it's recording. I focused on the recorded side of this without being able to see the physical, the physical actual warranty, the homestead exemption.
Right. Application, their homestead application, right, which is not public information. What is public
Application may have
information?
been a better word to have been used here instead of recorded, because recorded would tell me that the application has been done and the county, Fayette,
Right.
has indeed recorded that.
Noted.
Okay, I'm not trying to pick here, it's not my job, but I'm just trying to make sure in terms of what's presented to us and what's, that we understand the terminology that's being used.
Yes, and homestead applications are not recorded with a stamp in the public record.
Yeah.
The annotation is documented on the actual tax bill. So that is what is documented and available, and that's the L1 exemption, which is on the property.
Yeah, I can understand that terminology, okay? Yeah, I guess there's just a lot of, and it did not, the 944 did not reflect correctly in anything else that was presented here, so that just should be noted, okay?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Wingate.
Thank you very much.
And so I'm going to Exhibit D again. So who is David and Cornelia Kennedy?
That may have been the seller who Mr. Kelly purchased the property from. And they've moved on off into the sunset and are no longer associated with that property. The issue is they had homestead and Mr. Kelly inherited it, and thus he has homestead on his property and the mortgage is a first position primary residence.
So you can inherit?
You're not supposed to, but due to clerk.
Mishaps.
Right, I mean, a clerk is a human, they're inundated with thousands of transactions every month. It's really the homeowner's responsibility to communicate to the tax commissioner, honestly.
Are these people related to Mr. Kelly?
No, it was an arm's length transaction.
And what was the date of the purchase of the home again?
That would have
Closing.
been on page 1 of the security deed, and
February 10th?
that was February 10th, 2021.
Right.
Do we have any more questions for Ms. Glenn?
Give me a minute.
This document has not been identified by anyone that wrote the document, or it's offered into evidence for purposes of I guess, of impeachment to my client. But my difficulty at this point is understanding what the rules of evidence are before this board, because counsel has made all these statements about deeds and tax issues about homestead exemption, but there's been nothing offered into evidence as admissible. It's all counsel saying what she found. For example, what she has told you is the lender does an application. I've not seen a document dealing with the application. I've not seen a document saying that no permission was given. The portion that's being read to this board leaves out the portion, but it says, except under circumstances that my client can testify to this board, if that's what's needed, to explain about this house and how they intended to move there, but then decided not to move there when his mama gave him the house that he had been living in since he was 17 years old. So I'm trying to understand what this is about. I'm trying to understand the suggestion that my client somehow did a homestead exemption illegally when he never filed a homestead exemption for the property in Fayette County. And his wife has moved to the property in Fayette County, but not him, because he's continued to live where he has always lived since he was 17 years old. And I believe all this, and that's the reason why I wanted to know if a challenger was here, because I need the right to examine the challenger about what basis this is about. Because this is, in my view, character assassination, because this counsel has stated that my client is guilty of a misdemeanor of filing a false homestead exemption, which the facts do not support that. And second, my client is guilty of mortgage fraud, which the facts do not support that. And to make those scurrilous statements in a public setting and in a filing without evidence, without any due process to be able to challenge these things, but just allow the lawyer to tell them to this board without me wanting to know, has this document been certified? Is this a true and correct copy of a deed? Has this been in any way modified? You know, I don't know the answer to any of those things. And it's really impossible for me to examine the challenger if she's not here. The lawyer only knows what she is arguing, not her own facts. I assume a lawyer's not even a member, not even a voter in this district, so wouldn't have standing to challenge this.
So Mr. Betts, we can hear from you now. Do we have any other questions for Ms. Glenn at this point? And just to clarify, we are not here today. We are not
This is not a trial.
This is not a trial,
Thank you,
and we are
Lord.
not here to talk about any mortgage fraud or answer that. This is really about whether or not Mr. Robert Hallwell Kelly is can qualify as a candidate for Commissioner District 5 seat. That's what this is about. So I don't know, Mr. Kelly, if you wanted to come forward to the board, that would be great at this time.
Dr. You need to make a ruling on whether or not you would accept the document from the challenger. This additional document that she wanted to provide to you?
Yeah, I can have a motion to accept or deny the document
Can I make a
that
statement?
Ms. Glenn, before you begin, sir, if we could have a motion to accept or deny the document that Ms. Glenn provided to us.
If I may summarize as well, there was an objection posed by Mr. Betts that the document has not been authenticated.
Yes, that the document has not been authenticated. Can I get a motion?
You mean everything that we're looking at?
Not everything that we're looking at. We're talking specifically in reference to an email. And Mr. Betts, the attorney, is stating that that email has not been verified.
May I ask what email? I don't know of emails.
Correct, I hadn't given it to you yet because I wasn't sure if the board was going to.
I don't think we
Wait.
should take it. 'Cause
So how do you give it to them if they're voting yet? You can't give it to them yet.
Yeah, so can we
Yeah, because
vote, can we have a motion? Can I have a motion?
I make a motion that we do not, since it is not a verified document, do not accept that. into evidence?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so motion has been denied. Do I have a motion to accept the document? No motion, so that fails. Thank you. Mr. Betts and Mr. Kelly, you have the floor.
I'm going to put my client under oath because, you know, it seems to me that this board at least deserves people to talk about things under oath and not just to get up and say ugly things. Now, if you don't want that, then I'm going to put my client under oath because I think this board deserves to hear testimony as opposed to just lawyer talk. And that's unless you don't care one way or the other.
I'm going to defer to our attorney, Ms. Ringer, on this.
That would be fine to place him under oath.
Okay, thank you so
All
much.
right, will you raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, state your name.
My name is Robert Kelly.
Mr. Kelly, are you running for a position of county commissioner right now for Fulton County?
Yes.
And are you aware that a challenge has been made concerning your residency?
I am.
Okay, now, tell this court what the address in, that you've lived in since you were 17 years old, except when you went to college.
3509 Sable Glen Lane.
And how long, and you went to college from that
Correct.
address? And that's your mama's house?
That was my mother's house, yes.
All right. Now, did your mama end up conveying this property to you in March of 2021?
That's correct.
And this was after you bought the property in Fayetteville?
That's correct.
Now, did that change your view about where you were going to be your residency?
That's correct.
So you were thinking about moving to Fayetteville, but when your mama conveyed the property to you, you decided to stay in Atlanta, is that correct?
That's correct.
And the property in Fayetteville is now being used as a bed and breakfast, is that correct?
We're preparing it to be used as a bed and breakfast.
Have you applied for the business licenses or what is needed?
That's correct.
Okay, now, you know, on this deed, the deed provides that it was going to be your primary residence, right?
That's what the deed says.
But when your mother decided to convey the property to you, that you basically been in since you were 17 years old, of which you and your wife had moved into to have your first child, that changed your view about where you're going to live, right?
Correct.
And that happened even a little month after you bought this other house, right?
Correct.
Now, did you ever move to that house?
I did not move to that.
You did not.
Correct.
Your wife had moved down there?
My wife did move there. Correct.
All right. Now, have you been living in this location in South Fulton for the entire time since 2016? That's been your address?
That's correct.
Now, where were you living before 2016? Were you in an apartment or?
That's correct.
And
From
where
college.
was the apartment?
It was in Athens,
Okay,
Georgia.
And that's when you were in law school?
Correct.
All right. So let me, now, did you ask the tax commissioner of Fayette County to deal with this homestead exemption issue? Did you ask him to look into this homestead exemption that you were accused of filing?
Correct.
All right, and did he give you a letter?
He did, correct.
All right, I want to offer this to the board. It's a letter to Robert from the Deputy Tax Commissioner regarding the homestead exemption. I have a bunch of. And what did the tax commissioner tell you?
They said that there was no, because of course I know that there was no homestead applied for, that there may have been a benefit from the previous, owners because of the taxing and the cutoff date, but that I had not applied for a homestead. And actually, additionally, in the document that the petitioner actually gave the board, it actually says that I waived the homestead. And that's the document that you actually have from the young lady, the attorney that, if you look on, I believe it's page 10. If you look on page, 13,
It's at the very end of the
if you
security.
look at page 13, 24, it says waiver of homestead. Borrower waives all rights of homestead exemption in the property. So at the time that I actually purchased the house, I did waive the homestead.
Board members, did you find the page that he's referring to?
Page 13, sorry.
Mr. Kelly, in,
Are you, one?
Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
there is. No, perfect, yeah.
got it. To your comment just then, have you applied for a homestead exemption on that property this year?
No,
You have not.
on 455, no. That's correct.
And you haven't applied because that's not your residence, is that right?
Correct.
But you still own the property. Is that a correct statement?
That's correct.
If I may, what is the use of that property for currently?
So currently, we are working to make it into a bed and breakfast. And when I applied, back in November, I had begun the paperwork and all the stuff to go through the process of planning, zoning, all those type of things to get the permit, which we have now, which is a business license on the property for it to be a bed and breakfast.
And do you have that documentation? with
I do.
you? Ms. Ringer, may we see that, please?
And so, just so that you guys know, and because of the 12-month rule, of course we couldn't convert it to put a business license on it until after that February date, because that was the 12 months, and so March is when it began.
Did you ever physically live at that residence?
No, so at the time, my wife actually moved in, and I stayed in my Atlanta address.
How long did your wife stay there, or is she still there now, or living there?
So just complete, transparency. So during the time that we were, thinking about moving the house, our family dynamic changed a little bit, and where we decided that it would be better for me to kind of stay domiciled in Atlanta, and for her because she has business interest in, career interest in Fayetteville. So she decided to move to the Fayetteville address, and so she pretty much stayed there, and she actually still does work out of that, Fayetteville address.
She does what? It's difficult to hear you
I'm
a little
sorry.
bit.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, yeah.
Sorry. So she actually still does work out of that Fayetteville address currently.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mr. Kelly, in terms of your application for candidacy,
Yes.
you state that your residence address is 3509 Sable Glen.
Lane. Correct.
Help me understand then why you list my post office address as 2385 Godby Road.
Right. So when I was doing that, a lot of times there's mail that's kind of important that needs to come, and sometimes in the area, a lot of times your mail may be taken out of your mailbox. So it's common to have a post office, a PO box that you'll send your mail to. So because for that document, I want to make sure that. Well, I think that's you're talking about the post office address. That's the post office that resides with that address. I'm sorry.
So that's where you receive your mail.
Right. Well, the question that is asking is what is the post office that's I guess related to that address. So when I Googled the post office that is with that address, that's the one that came up. I think that's what that question was asking. Is that correct? when it says my post office address is.
Yeah, my curiosity is just how it's being used.
Yeah.
And, you know, certainly any, an explanation is fine. But that is not it's not necessarily what, by this description, a post office address, because I'm assuming it's 2385 Godby Road,
That,
know,
I'm sorry.
UPS store, or, what is
You know
that?
what, I think I misunderstood that question. So that actually is the address of the actual physical post office. So I thought it was asking what is a post office associated with my address. And that's the actual post office address.
Okay.
Not
So
sa-
that's the post office, the actual.
The actual,
That's
yeah,
UP.
slow moment, sorry about that.
Okay. That
But that should
that
say
helps
35.
define it then, yes.
There we go, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
And so the Sable Glen address, 3509, is your current
Residence, correct.
residence?
Correct.
And this is also on your, the SOS voter registration page, that 3509 Sable Glen Lane is your residence?
That's correct. And I also have my IDs. Though, in July 21st is my birthday, and so I would have had to renew my IDs, and I have evidence that all my IDs were once again renewed at that address. I have copies of that as well, just in case, you may need it to further show that it was always my intention to be domiciled at the 3509 address.
Yes, sir. Did you ever attempt to voter register in Fayette County?
No. And as you can see, he's also passing the voter registration. I've been a registered voter since 2016 at that address.
That's all that stuff. That doesn't help me at all.
Are there any questions about the documents that have been submitted?
No, ma'am.
We'll wait for Mr. Wingate.
Yeah, bear with me a minute. I have to.
Yeah, it's a lot of information.
look at
Yep.
stuff.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Wingate?
Oh, I'm sorry. Also, if you guys need, my neighbor is here to testify if that's necessary. She can testify of where I've lived. She lives in the same street as me. So if, she can come to testify as well to the fact that this is where I've lived. She literally is a couple streets, houses down from me.
Okay, thank
Ma'am.
you.
One
Mr.
other
Wing-
quick thing, Mr. Kelly, I'm backtracking a little bit here, and I apologize. When you secured the mortgage on this 455 Forest Avenue property, did you in fact commit to a primary residence for 12 months?
Not that I was aware of at the time. You know, it was about 50-something pages. And so I did not intentionally commit. However, I did call the lender, and I have an email from him, the original lender, at the time. And so I was speaking to him about the issue once I found this challenge and said, hey, was this the case? He actually sent me an email, and where he highlighted that there are, of course, extenuating circumstances where you would be excused from that. Do we have
We
that email?
probably should have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we have that documentation?
Is it here?
Yeah, it should be.
Mr. Keller, were you the only person on the deed for the house in Fayette County? Is your wife?
I believe my wife is on it as well,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken.
I don't see, maybe it's over here.
He's going to print it off. In the meantime, do you mind her saying some brief words?
Sure. Let's see if our colleagues would. I think we're ready to call the question.
Okay, all right, thank you. I apologize for not understanding the procedure here, and I hope I didn't.
It's okay. This is not a court of law.
Yes,
You know,
ma'am.
we're
Yes.
here to, yeah.
Yeah, thank you,
By,
thank you,
my colleague said by any stretch.
thank you.
At this time, I would like to ask our attorneys if they have any statutes or anything that they think would be helpful here in our making a decision.
Board members, I believe that the question here is one of residency, and there is a statute in the election code, OCGA 21-217, that I've provided you a copy of, that will provide rules for determination of residence. I think if the board were to refer to that statute and any of its subparts, that would help in your deliberations.
Would you read the statute just for part of the statute?
Okay. OCGA 21-217, rules for determination of residence. A, in determining the residence of a person desiring to register to vote or to qualify to run for elective office, the following rules shall be followed so far as they are applicable. 1, the residence of a person shall be held to be in that place in which such person's habitation is fixed without any present intention of removing therefrom. 2, a person shall not be considered to have lost such person's residence who leaves such person's home and goes into another state or county or municipality in the state for temporary purposes only, with the intention of returning unless such person shall register to vote or perform other acts indicating a desire to change such person's citizenship and residence. 3, a person shall not be considered to have gained a residence in any county or municipality of that state into which such person has come for temporary purposes, only without the intention of making such county or municipality such person's permanent place of abode. 4, if a person removes to another state with the intention of making it such person's residence, such person shall be considered to have lost such person's residence in this state. 4.1, if a person removes to another county or municipality in the state with the intention of making it such person's residence, such person shall be considered to have lost such person's residence in the former county or municipality in this state. 5, if a person removes to another state with the intention of remaining there an indefinite time in making such person's place of residence, such persons shall be considered to have lost such person's residence in this state, notwithstanding that such person may intend to return at some indefinite future period. 6, if a person removes to another county or municipality within this state with the intention of remaining there an indefinite time and making such other county or municipality such person's place of residence, such person shall be considered to have lost such person's residence in the former county or municipality, notwithstanding that such person may intend to return at some indefinite future period.
Thank you. So at this time, we would entertain it, well, we would like to hear from Ms. Marshall, a recommendation for the board.
Based off Mr. Robert Kelly's voter registration record, we would like to recommend that he is qualified to run for commissioner in District 5.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. Do I have a,
Madam Vice Chair, I support that recommendation
Second.
and make a motion that we proceed with that recommendation.
do I have a second?
Second.
The motion has been, it has been seconded, and it is affirmed that Mr. Kelly is qualified. Oh, sorry, we didn't vote, sorry.
No, we take a vote.
We take a vote, sorry. Do I have yeas?
Yay.
Let's do a roll call, please.
Great. Terry Crawford, Ms. Crawford?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Wingate?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, okay, great. Thank you, and so that motion carries, and Mr. Kelly, best wishes to you and your race. Now I would like to, is there any reason we need to go to executive session? I'd like to have a motion.
I make a motion to move into executive session for personnel matters.
Second.
That motion has been moved and seconded. We will go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great, no opposed. Therefore, we will move into a brief executive session. We will come back and adjourn the meeting shortly. Thank you very much.
Fine. I didn't throw that away anyway. Well, I think I have that. Yeah. Here you go. Madam Vice Chair, I make a motion that we exit from the executive session and rejoin the regular session, special regular session.
Second?
Thank you. I have a motion and it's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So as we are now out of executive session. So as you all are aware, we put forth a recommendation of a new director of elections to the BOC for consideration in their April 13th meeting. Derek Bowens has since withdrawn his candidacy for consideration. Therefore, the board will continue the search process. Is there any other business to discuss? May I have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
Motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.